Hi there, my name is Paul Tannehill, and in this screencast I'm going to share how to make a GPX file version of a Google Map route that you've designed. So I'm not going to go into specifics in regard to which kind of GPS units and which kind of GPS apps that you can use this with, because a GPX file is a standard across the board. I happen to use Garmin handheld devices, and I use Gaia GPS app quite a bit. But a GPX file will work in pretty much, let's just say, if you're using a GPS receiver or a GPS app that doesn't use GPX file formats, get a different tool, really. That's the standard tool. So I'm not going to go in a lot of detail. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as I can. And on that note, though, I almost didn't bother to record this session because there is one step that might throw you off. It might be, how do I put it? It might be complex to figure out how to do this one thing, and you'll see it when we get there. But I do things the way I do it because I hate the idea of trying to just stay as simple as possible, and just because all I want is this one thing, because quite often when I go down that road, I get into a very simplistic app that only does that one thing, but along that path I realize, oh, but I would also like to be able to do that other thing and something else, and that path that I've chosen is not going to work. I'd rather choose a path among some tools that has got a lot of capability that I can pick and choose from as I learn how to use it. And so that's along the lines of what I'm doing here. The one step I'm mentioning is you've got to find how to create a Google Maps API, and we'll jump in when we get there. Essentially, this is the map. This is the route, I should say, that I've designed for this demonstration. This happens to be in southeast Oregon. This little intersection right here is Oregon, Nevada, and California. And this intersection down here is Oregon, Nevada, and Idaho, just for reference here. And we're going to be camping one night down here just into Nevada at the Virgin Valley Campground, and take a terrific route that I've ridden my motorcycles on and driven, really nice all the way up. And we're going to stay the next night at Crane Hot Springs. So this is just one of many amazing routes all over Oregon, or wherever you live. You're going to be doing essentially the same thing. You're going to design your route, whichever methodology you prefer. And so these are the destinations that I've added in on this route, simply by adding the add destination here. And so you may know that you can adjust the route as you see fit, so let's not bother getting into that. This isn't what this session's about. This is the route that I want to put into my GPS, so while I'm out there on the adventure, either on my motorcycle or driving, whether I'm in or out of a cell range. So this route, if I was just using my Google Maps app on my phone, let's say, there's a chance I might lose it if I go out of cell range for an hour or two or three, and there's opportunities for that along this route, by the way. So that's the reason in my mind that I've always seen a value in having that GPX track file in my GPS receiver and or my GPS app, because that stays on the map, and I can go do other things, like say on my app, and when I come back to my GPS app, that track is still there. I can see it clearly visible. I got to take that left turn coming up, that right turn coming up, and I'm doing just fine. So no doubt in regard to maybe losing the map that would be represented on your Google Maps app. So there are a couple of ways to get started here. Once you get the route all figured out, you can grab the URL up here and copy it. I've also seen other videos where you might be better off clicking over here on options, down to details, and getting the link that this represents. And I haven't had a difference between these two. This is a much shorter link. I'm going to go and do it here, but all of my testing has shown consistent results between that link and the one up in the browser itself. So I've got that copied now to the clipboard. Now I use a tool, and this is where that one step comes in. I use a tool called GPS Visualizer, and you have a whole list of different kind of conversions. This whole site is all about converting from one map type, one track type, one one waypoint type, file types, GPX files to KML, which happens to be Google's more or less equivalent to the GPX file type. So I use this tool mostly, probably 90% plus, for purposes of getting a track that I can use in my GPS app or receiver. So I almost always just go over here to convert to GPX. And again, the route that we have for Google Maps, I've copied the URL and I'm going to paste it into this field here where it says provide the URL of a file on the web. Now when I click that, I can just paste it in there. So this is that little tricky step I mentioned here. I'm not going to go into how to acquire a Google API key. If I want that information on this form right here, I can click the little info thing here and it takes me to this page. And this gets you started on how to acquire your Google API key. I've had mine for, I think, since 2018 when this all happened. And I got mine for free. I'm not even sure at this point whether they're still available for free. If you're going to use this to any extent, I think it's worth probably a few bucks. Is probably all it costs. There may or may not be by now, I haven't even looked into it, whether you can get a Google API key that'll work for this purpose for free or not. That again isn't what this video is about. But once I've got that API key, I have a little sticky note over here on the right that you can see here that I have my API key into so I can for easy copying and pasting. And by the way, this sticky note here is just simply a Google Chrome extension, and it's called Note Anywhere is the extension I use for sticky notes here. So I'm going to copy that API key to the clipboard and I'm going to paste it in this field. And then one last step before we can make the conversion. What comes in from the Google Maps link is not only the track, but a bunch of waypoints that I don't care about for my use. So if you want to get rid of the waypoints, I recommend clicking the Show Advanced Options button here. And you've got track options and waypoint options. And right here, include waypoints. I'm going to include none of them. And then simply click Convert. It might take a few seconds here depending on the length of the route. And this link right here is the one we're after. Now I can just simply click it if I want to. It'll download into my downloads folder. I like to name it before I save it because when I get over to the file, I'm not going to know what this whole big long name here is. I'm going to save link as, and I'm going to just say, I think I'm going to put it into a certain folder here. There we go, just so I know where it's going to go. I'm going to save it. Okay, excellent. So now at this point, I could save this as something. You see where the process is now. I'm going to save that as another GPX file. And that one, with just the track and not the waypoints, is what now I'm going to add into my Garmin handheld unit and or my Gaia GPS and other apps as well. By the way, this is that aspect I mentioned of many, many features, which at first you may not think you're ever going to want to use. But there are some really interesting, useful extra features here that you're not going to get if you just go to just a basic tool that only does the one thing, because you're likely going to want to maybe do this sometimes and that sometimes that another more basic process isn't going to give you. So that's the basics. I really thought this would be a couple, 3 minutes. It's a little longer than that though. Hope you enjoyed this and got something out of it. I know I use this frequently for a number of things. I'm into GPS in a number of different aspects. Motorcycling, in my 4x4 trucks, geocaching, hiking, the list goes on. So this process, as you kind of make a pre-plan for your adventure out there in the field, has been very helpful for me. And I hope you find it helpful for yourself too. So take care. See you out there. Thanks.